Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know, this is really nuts. 2 of the top 10 offending words, according to the politically correct police, are corral and herd. They say that someone feels offensive. We corral cows, not people. And the word herd, if you're, say, herding anything, someone could be offended. How in the heck are real cowboys, are they going to ever corral the herd when they can't say the words anymore? This is nuts. Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith. God bless America. Words we can't say. Are you kidding me? Ay, ay, ay. Oh, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch on the beginning of a work week, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. And Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Sean and Mandy, the whole crew, everything, and I mean everything, for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valleywide Home and Ranch. And coming up later this week, that antique tractor show at Valleywide. Don't miss it. Right now, it's time for our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning.
Yeah, don't be picking at me, you old goat. How are you?
I just said good morning and I'm picking on you.
Yeah, but the way you said it, see, I'm going to be like PC people.
You ain't seen nothing yet, Sappy. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I feel better now, don't you?
Yeah, Deborah, you know what? These word people that said, you don't believe this and that old stuff and you can't say this. If you don't like it, get the hell out of my face, because if I believe in it, I'm going to preach it and I'm going to say it.
You know, and I am exactly the same way. I am not going to watch my PC words on this program. I'm not going to say anything that's going to be brash or offensive or use terminology that is absolutely disgusting. No, but I'm not going to cut back on the words. Al, the more they try to act discriminatory against the certain words, we've lost our First Amendment.
Yeah. I went around yesterday, and I didn't see too many flags.
I did. I saw quite a few where I was, and I was so tickled to see all the flags, and I'm going to talk about that in just a moment.
Yeah.
All right. Al, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Wonderful people, the Cheneys, and I'll tell you what, they can take care of all your carpet and flooring and kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home. Yep. And they got all the newly refurbished furniture, too, at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. And right now, here is the weather.
Well, good morning, Zeb. Can you hear me okay on the other side of that telephone there?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. All right, that's good. I just wanted to make sure. No, a real good day for Michael Rogers. Let me get you the weather first, and I'll tell you why it's a real good day. Morning, everybody. You got a nice day today with temperatures in the 80s, and it's going to continue that way for, throughout the midweek, and then there's a possibility of precipitation in the form of rain, but that's later on. Other than that, though, you got a nice way to start out the work week. The temperatures in the low to mid-80s and the overnight low 50s. Now, my good news for today, and I kind of kept this quiet for quite some time, but today is the day I got here in Las Vegas in September. And as of today, my first cover for one of the magazines here in Las Vegas hits the stands for today. The name of the magazine is called My Vegas Magazine. The cover is, I shot a gentleman who is known through much of the circles here as one of the top 100 men of success. He's a top orthopedic surgeon here in Las Vegas. And then on the inside of the magazine, there's a nice little story about yours truly, and I'll send it to Zeb. And maybe if he's got time, he might just read a couple of lines in it. But other than that, it's a real good day for Michael Rogers. The last thing in the world I ever thought when I got here was to get on a magazine cover and shoot a magazine cover 8 months after I got here. But there you go. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
All right, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Yesterday was Flag Day, and I got really emotional yesterday in both Twin Falls and Burley when I saw the flags up. Now, like Al said, though, and I want to say and reiterate what he said, he drove around and he said he didn't see many flags at probably private residences, businesses, etc. I think a lot of people could have put more time and effort into celebrating June 14th as Flag Day. But where I was and where I went, the flags were up, and went to church yesterday morning, and on the way into Twin and back from Twin saw many, many, many red, white, and blue flags, and then went through Burley, and I saw many, many red, white, and blue American flags, and it was great with a super sense of pride for Flag Day. If you didn't put a flag up, shame on you. Shame on you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, and they do so much over there. I mean, I've taken in some Rumply Crumplies, and I thought, man, there ain't no way they can make them look good. Well, surprise, when I went to get them, they look brand spanking new. And they can restore a lot of items, too, that you might think are throwaways. Dry cleaning really prolongs the life of a garment, and they're the best. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Oh, by the way, too, somebody else that I want to really recommend to you, and I mean this recommendation, is SafeLink Internet. We've been on their program with SafeLink for a long time, and the first month is free installation, no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. I'm telling you what, they are the best. Call this number for Idaho's #1 choice in wireless internet, 677-8000 SafeLink Internet. You get a hold of them today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244. June Dairy Month, and we're going to be highlighting, as we have since the beginning of June, all the way through the month of June Dairy Month, with our friends at the United Dairymen of Idaho. I couldn't help but notice a little bit on that story they said during the local news about a boat that was sunk over at Hagerman because the ship's captain forgot to put the plug in. Right away, my wife and I and my kids probably are saying, well, Dad did that. Yes, I did. And I can feel the pain of that gentleman over at Hagerman where his boat, his 17-foot boat sunk in the water over at Hagerman because the plug was not in correctly. About 15 years ago, I did that and sunk my boat over at Murtaugh Lake. And believe me, I'm not proud of it, but I am also glad someone else did it, and it made the news this morning. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I thought I was the only one. I didn't lose a 17-foot boat, though. I managed to salvage mine. Anyway, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. They've got all the air filters for your air conditioners. Oh, didn't you hear that it's supposed to be very warm at the beginning of this week? We're going to be knocking on the 90s door, and you'd better be ready to cool off. Get your air filters for your air conditioners at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 every afternoon and morning, Monday through Friday. You stop in where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Now, earlier I had mentioned all the things that are going on over at Valleywide Home and Ranch, and I want to remind you, too, along with the Antique Tractor Show coming up on the 19th and 20th, all your bug spray, fly spray. Oh, I hate bugs and flies, and I spray out by the barn, and I spray in my tack room, and I spray the horses, and I spray me. I don't like them. Get rid of them. Those darn nasty bugs and flies, they've got all the stuff over at Valleywide to kill them dead. I betcha. So you stop over to Valleywide Home and Ranch, and literally everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch. And I know all the 4-H'ers are getting ready for their projects. 10% off on purchases for them at Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We had talked about this story at great length last week, and hidden in the middle of the first section of the Times News, yesterday's paper on Sunday, the U.S. Department of Agriculture provides summer meals hotline. And I want to stir the pot a little bit because I'm absolutely incensed with this program. I think it's not a sensible program, and I think it's a waste of time, effort, and money that could go elsewhere. And also it takes away parental responsibility, and it teaches these kids nothing but government dependency. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has a toll-free hotline this summer to allow parents to find free meals for their children. You know, right there I am incensed with that opening paragraph. The Nation hotline, and then they give the number, and I'm not going to give it here, and it's also in Spanish, can be reached from 8 in the morning until 8 p.m. Monday through Friday. And here's the words. I had a lady last week call me and contradict me and say, no, there are income requirements. No, ma'am, as I said, you're wrong. There are none. Any child can receive lunch this summer, and there aren't any income restrictions. And they went on in this story to name 14 lunch sites in the Twin Falls area alone in this story. 14 lunch sites. And I'm not going to go into each and every one of them. I really don't care. But, audience, I'm appalled at this freebie to anybody and everybody, regardless of their income, and it's just absolutely taking away from our society. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
One question for you this morning. How much of our property tax money do you feel is going to support social programs in this city?
I don't know. But here's the guise of these programs, Tony. They say that, well, hang on just a second. They say that they have sponsors for these programs and the U.S. Department of Agriculture and grant money and everything else. Tony, somebody has to pay the piper. And there are many, and I know you'll agree with this, many better ways to help people, especially look at the Meals on Wheels program with our seniors. But this is ridiculous.
Oh, I know it is, and it's getting bigger and bigger. How many of these people that are on these programs are getting free education, free housing, which we had a bunch of student housing put up over here in Twin Falls, and our property taxes keep going up and up. And I'm curious about how much of that is going for social programs instead of sewer and street maintenance and things like that. And maybe that's why we've got so many holes in our streets down here, is because that money is being used for social programs.
Yeah, but Tony, I mean, you're right 100%, and I'm just absolutely livid about this, because a mom driving a Cadillac or whatever, a BMW, can say, okay, kids, time to go to lunch. Let's all go to the park and get a freebie. No income restrictions. And somebody's got to pay for this somewhere down the line. And I am appalled that we have no more pride in our country and pride in our raising kids. To teach them government dependency is asinine.
Well, pretty soon, if things keep going the way they are, they won't have to worry about dependency. They'll be taking orders from somebody like some of these terrorists that are trying to take our country over.
I agree. I'm just absolutely livid about this. And for the people that wanted to call me off the air, and there were some, and chew me out and say, how dare you be so critical of this? Why, you're this, you're that. Why don't you have the nerve to call me on the program, and I would love to arbitrate with you. But these backless, spineless people, they'd rather call me on a Sunday or a Saturday on my cell phone, of which I readily give out, 312-2976. I don't mind arbitrating with them, but it seems kind of gutless that they don't have the nerve to call me on the air. Tony, God bless you and Mary.
Where they live, what their address is.
Tony, God bless you, man.
We'll find out who's going to be picking them up and dropping them off after their breakfast or lunches.
I tell you, I'm just incensed about this program. I don't like it.
No.
I don't think it does any good to take dependency, responsibility, and family awareness away from the children and just dump them off, get a free lunch, pick them back up, and then maybe go get free cheese and everything else. Free. Somebody's got to pay for it, Tony.
Well, this is why our taxes are going up.
Yeah.
Up and up.
Absolutely. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. I don't like this program. And yeah, that's Zeb Bell. That right winger, that guy that's out on the branch on a tree, way out on that right wing. No, I'm not the only one. And I have talked to numerous people in various occupations, many in education. Don't agree with it. Many that are lawyers, doctors, and farmers don't agree with this dependency on the government. Your calls and your thoughts. But that sentence right there, and this is aimed primarily at that lady that called and chewed me out. Any child can receive lunch this summer, and there aren't income restrictions. Blows my mind. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, Twin Falls, Jerome, and Burley. They've got the equipment to get any job done right. And at the Burley store, they've got a 66 horsepower tractor with freeloader, only $29,995. Oh boy. And a 73 horsepower tractor with freeloader, only $31,595. You better check out all the great buys, all the equipment you need to get the job done correctly. Barry Equipment and Rental, like I said, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental, you stop in and see them today. By the way, This is the week of Lunch Bunch. Now, don't ask, don't call. I said it again this morning. This coming Thursday, the 18th, is Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant in Burley. And we invite everybody to be there because we have a prize for everyone. Everyone. Yes, and we also want to thank Smith's Food King, Walmart, and Handsome Mortuary, door prizes, and we've got oodles and scoodles. Scoodles? Is that a word? I don't know. I'll have to have Wheels over at the station look up the word scoodles. I don't know if that's a word. But anyway, it is now Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Breakfast? Lunch? Dinner? Always great food at Denny's Restaurant. And Zeb's Lunch Bunch will be at 611 Overland in Burley this coming Thursday at Denny's Restaurant. Going to be a lot of fun. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear last week on Friday, naturally on Friday, Dead News Day, everybody's getting ready to go enjoy the weekend. The Obama administration is going to start telling us where to live. I'll get to that in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Zeb, I have heard that it's not only the kids that's eating, but the parents are eating too.
Well, wait a minute. The parents, according to the papers that I have here in front of me, the parents can buy a lunch for $4.15.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, seriously, Helen, it's not even funny or easy to make a joke about it. $4.15. The parents, that's a cop-out because I don't think you can go hardly anywhere for lunch and spend for a meal of $4.15 and the kids eat free. There again, though, with the reduced price for the parents, it's still government dependency.
Right. Dell and I was talking last night, and we got to wondering, Crapo and Rich and Simpson all went back to Washington, D.C., right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, what was their balance of what they had then? What is it now?
What are you talking about, Helen?
Their wealth.
I see what you're saying. You're saying that they've helped pad the billfold a little bit since they become senators and congressmen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't doubt that's the case. I'll tell you something that is going to change, and I'm very upset about this, Helen. When a politician, I'm not going to mention any one of them by name specifically, but when a politician calls me and says, Zeb, we want to be on the air this date at this time, and I make allowances for them, and then they don't show up and they leave me with a dead spot, Helen, this dog's not going to sit by the gravy train bowl waiting for him anymore. That ain't going to happen.
Well, I don't believe no one caught and pick a minute.
I'm sick and tired of I'm sick and tired of making allowances for our people that work in politics, and then all of a sudden something else happens and they leave you high and dry.
I just think it all comes right down to they're liars. They're scared of you.
Well, not all of them are, but I'll tell you what, I'm starting to get a much thicker skin. Helen, God bless you and your husband. Take care. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Minnecash Relay for Life is coming up. Yes, it is. And I'll guarantee you it's going to be this next weekend, Friday the 19th and Saturday the 20th at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. And my thanks go out to so many people, including Patty Shockey and also Vicki Cole and many, many others. Tim, thank you very much for everything you've done, for all the information. And if anybody is interested in making a donation for the Minnecash Relay for Life, contact Patty Shockey at 670-2975. Cancer research money is very, very necessary, and we thank the folks with the Minnecash Relay for Life this year at the Cassia County Fairgrounds coming up this next weekend. Thank you so much. Also, I am really, really honored to have back on my program a good friend of mine, and I know I'm running a little bit late here this morning, but I want to say thanks to Ron Ellis and BASF. Oh my, potato growers, they've got Preaxor for black dot control. Excellent, excellent potato research, and of course the products that are going to help you grow a healthy crop. Excellent research from BASF, and of course Preaxor, best applied as an early tuber initiation begins, and contact your field man or Ron Ellis at 431-6776. And don't forget to ask for the best, Preaxor, for your potatoes. And later on this morning, we're going to be having Ron Ellis on the air and a special segment for all that helps Idaho grow, and that's BASF. Ron Ellis at 431-6776. Holy smokes, it's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. I'm running late. And don't forget the Capital Press Ag Minute is run. I got to tell you, this lady is so fantastic, and that's Christine Pickup over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Nobody knows hearing better. She's the doctor of audiology, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call for a hearing screening. And has she ever helped me with some hearing devices that absolutely are a necessity? I mean, she has helped me so much. 312-0957. Christine Pickup, doctor of audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and I absolutely urge you to get a hearing screening today. Don't let your hearing deteriorate. Call her at 312-0957. Right now, no, call her. Hang on just 60 seconds. Here's the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
President Obama handed the West another $110 million in drought relief Friday, including a promise of $72 million in crop insurance savings over the next 2 years for struggling farmers. Through its risk management agency, the USDA will expand a program that allows farmers to exclude the exceptionally bad production years resulting from drought from the calculation of their crop insurance coverage, providing an estimated $30 million in additional relief in fiscal 2016 and the $42 million in the following year, according to federal officials. The latest aid package adds to the $190 million the federal government has already devoted to drought relief this year, and the anticipated $1.2 billion in the USDA's assistance to livestock producers facing grazing losses.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Oh, brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. And this lovely lady, Christine Pickup, doctor of audiology, can show many, many ways to protect your hearing. Call her at 312-0957. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning. Quickly, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I've sponsored things before, like Meals on Wheels and that sort of thing. And naturally, I wanted credit for it because I did something for the community and I wanted them to support me. It was a good thing. But you say there's sponsors on this free meal and stuff. I would like to know who they are, and I would like to talk to them.
I can provide that after I do a little research. I've got to go back through some of the stories and get some of that. But if you'll call me off the air, I'll have that for you, and we'll discuss it. But, Keith, I don't care if it's the USDA. I don't care who it is as a sponsor. I really don't care. It's nothing more than, to me, creating dependency and creating a free society. But as you know, nothing is free.
Well, I would like to see the senior citizens get
I would too.
more than what they're getting, and let's make this on a level playing field.
Well, yeah, and I credit you. You were the one that brought that up on the program about 8-9 days ago in regards to the Meals on Wheels program and everything, of which you've been very supportive, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. And thank you for your comments. Keith, I got to get a contest in here real quick for June Dairy Month, and okay. I appreciate your call. God bless you, man. Thank you. We're going to give away a half dozen absolutely delicious cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox Box over in Rupert, 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. And if you answer the question correctly and are not a previous winner, you can stop in or give her a call at 436-0354 and tell her when you will be going in to pick up your cinnamon rolls. And this is June Dairy Month, and I have a question regarding the dairy industry. And the first person that can call in with the right answer will win the cinnamon rolls. How much milk does the average American consume per year? I'll give you three choices. A, 10 gallons. B, 32 gallons. Or C, 25 gallons. The first person that calls in with the right answer for June Dairy Month will receive a half dozen delicious Sophie's Chatterbox cinnamon rolls. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, quickly. How much milk does the average American consumer drink per year? 10 gallons, 32 gallons, or 25 gallons? Give me the call right now with the right answer, and you will win the cinnamon rolls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
25.
Who is this?
Angela Segovia.
Oh, yeah, you got to have those easy names for me. Hold on just a minute. Angela, spell the last name.
Segovia.
Well, where are you calling from, Angela? Well, you just won a half dozen delicious cinnamon rolls. The answer is 25 gallons. God bless you, and stop over or give Sophie's a call, all right?
All right.
Thank you so much. Nice lady right there. Angela Segovia. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Wheels, if you got your finger over there by the Silver State Stampede, how about playing it for us?
Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thunders into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th for family entertainment at its best. This PRCA-sanctioned rodeo brings you the thrill of rodeo riders going head-to-head in one of the world's toughest sports, rodeo. The action kicks off on Thursday with the annual kickoff party, including a tri-tip dinner, mutton busting, the Old West bronc riding, and dancing to the music of the Jeff Palmer Band. Things heat up on Friday and Saturday with PRCA rodeo action, the Ring of Fear, mutton busing, and all the fun, music, and dancing you can handle. And don't forget on Saturday, it's tough enough to wear pink. Pick up your tickets today at Roy's, the J.M. Capriola Company, the Boot Barn, IFA, or the Elko Chamber Office. Nevada's oldest rodeo, the Silver State Stampede, thundering into Elko July 9th, 10th, and 11th. Family entertainment at its very best.
Yeah, thank you much. Hey, real quick on Tuesdays, Dr. History's on at 10:06. He'll be in the studio tomorrow morning, brought to you by Minicash Sales. Old Zach and the rest of the crew, 1321 East Main in Burley, right across from the airport. And the number to call, 878-2091. All your lumber, all your windows, all your carpet, all your Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment, they've got it all. Western windows, oh my, they're good. Minicash Sales in Burley, bringing you Dr. History. Really good folks. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear? This is so stupid. I mean, there can't be an excuse for this. Not when you're in the news. Not when you're a trained broadcaster. You can't say something this dumb and not realize what you're saying. CNN anchor Frederica Whitfield goes up on the billboard as the dumbest, absolutely the dumbest in broadcasting for this week on Monday. Here's what she said, basically, when they were talking about the Dallas policeman shooter and this guy that went nuts and had the armed vehicle and all the guns and everything and was blaming the police for his own problems. She said that the shooter was courageous and brave for taking on the police. Courageous and brave? And then when CNN officials called her up to the head office and said, what are you talking about? She said, well, she'd go on the air, and she did not apologize. She did not apologize. She just said that she used a bad choice of words. How irresponsible. And somebody at CNN should have been ready to hand her that little slip of paper that said, adios, Federica, you're no longer going to be on our network. That's not a bad choice of words. It's a dumb choice of words. And I think, honestly, she should be fired. But they're very liberal at CNN. And she'll still have her paycheck come Friday morning. That's almost as dumb as the woman that claimed she was black and had black heritage in her family, and her own mother said she lied. This woman, Rachel Dolezal, is the president of the Spokane Chamber and chapter of the NAACP, and she lied. She doesn't have any black blood in her veins. Her own mother said that she lied. Can you believe this? Now the NAACP is asking her to resign. And this is what Dolezal said. This is so phony and hokey. Dolezal, meanwhile, has declined to comment directly about her family background, saying Thursday that the question is not as easy as it seems. There's a lot of complexities, and I don't know that everyone would understand that. What? She doesn't have any black blood. And her mom called her a liar. Calls are welcome, 436-2244. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Appreciate your call. Don't forget June Dairy Month, and we want to say thank you to Joe Taylor and his real estate business at 1826 Overland and Burley, 678-9400. One-stop shopping. Joe is the master. Joe is the guru when it comes to real estate. Many, many years of experience and extremely well known in the community. You call him for all your real estate needs. Joe Taylor, 1826 Overland in Burley. He is the man. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb. I'm a little off the subject you've been on this morning, but our DAV van in the Burley-Rupert area, we need some drivers for that. We've only got 2.
Okay.
And they run 5 days a week unless there's a holiday in that week.
All right.
And it's strictly volunteer. They don't have to be a veteran. They do not have to belong to DAV or any of the other veteran organizations. And I drove it for 4 years, and so they do need some help.
All right, now, I'm going to tell you this right up front. When it comes to our disabled American veterans, I don't care what subject I'm on. I'll stop that subject, and I'll help you anytime. So, in a nutshell, you need more drivers to take them to the VA up in Boise. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, now, what number can they call?
Get a hold of Georgia Greenwell, 678-3599.
3599.
By our office, it's right across the street from the police station there in Rupert.
All right. 678-3599. Is that what you said?
Yes.
All right.
And they have to pass a physical and a background check to become a driver.
All right.
So it'll take them a little bit to get it done, but they do need the drivers, and it's strictly volunteer. They do get a free breakfast and a free lunch while they're up there at the hospital waiting for their veterans.
All right, now, this is very important, and you need drivers. Give us the number one more time. Go ahead.
For the driver, 678-3599.
Okay, call that number, folks. They need help, and I appreciate it. Sir, send me some information on that because I didn't have time to write everything down right here.
Okay,
send me some information.
I'll get with Georgia.
Okay.
And we'll fill you out some information, and we'll get it to you.
All right, my friend. God bless you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bet.
Don't forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, right behind Dr. Crane's office. And I'm telling you, Nick Greenwell, I got to get started there again, man. I'm having some problems with my leg and my hip and everything, and they did so much to help me, and then I had to take a little hiatus and not go because I had other business commitments and everything. Oh, darn, I got to get back over there. Nick Greenwell and his physical therapist staff, they are the best with all the sports medicine and mix of exercises, hydrotherapy pool. They can help you get back to being you. Call for an appointment today at 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I tell you, absolutely the best. Hey, we got to get the weather in here and then we'll take some more calls. Don't forget Mad River Laser. I love this business, and I just love going in there, and I've got to finish all the order for my jackets and caps and T-shirts for Zeb at the Ranch. They do the best job anywhere, and Father's Day's coming up this next weekend. You better get in there and get Dad an apron or a coffee mug, World's Greatest Dad Ever, or buck knives and have an engraving on them. Oh, my goodness, Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-2293. Here now is the weather.
Morning, everybody. You got a nice day today with temperatures in the 80s, and it's going to continue that way for, throughout the midweek, and then there's a possibility of precipitation in the form of rain, but that's later on. Other than that, though, you got a nice way to start out the work week. The temperatures in the low to mid-80s, and the overnight low 50s got here, but there you go. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Michael. And weather brought to you this hour by Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Number to call Nicole and the rest of the crew, 436-2293. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If you got a trip planned to North Carolina, don't go swimming. Did you hear about that? Yesterday, and this is a very sad story, and our prayers go out to these two teenagers. Not one, but two teenagers, and I think they were like less than a mile apart off the coast of North Carolina. They were in swimming and surfing, and they were attacked by sharks, and both of them had their one arm chewed off. And swimming in that water, this is what doesn't make any sense. Why they would allow chumming, to put the bait in the water and everything for the various fish and also sharks. Why they would allow chumming to go on in waters where people are going to be swimming and surfing off the coast of North Carolina on all those beautiful beaches, it makes no sense to me. And very unfortunately, and Zeb at the Ranch sends the prayers to those families of those teens that lost their arms because of shark attacks yesterday. Absolutely makes no sense to me whatsoever. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I don't know if you heard this the other day, but this is so cold. This is so calculating, and this is so scary. ISIS, when they take prisoners, doesn't matter anywhere in the world, they are giving the prisoners three choices. The number one choice is you will convert to Islam immediately. Oh, don't tell me. Don't you dare tell me that this isn't a religious war. Don't you dare tell me that Islam and Christianity and everything else isn't at war with each other right now. It is. They will give you three choices. You must convert to Islam immediately, or Number 2, you will pay a very heavy, severe tax. It's called a jizya tax. Jizya, jizya tax. Or number 3, you will be immediately put to death. This is absolutely insane what's going on right now. And this president, this administration, with zero offense against ISIS, and they are allowed to be spread like a cancer all over the globe, and we do nothing. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know what's coming up. I'll tell you what, it's going to be a ripping good time, and that is the great big Idaho Regatta. Oh, my goodness sakes. I got to get my sheets right here and pull that up, and I put it in this pile. And as would have it, my pile does not have the information. So let's go to pile number 2. Oh my, yes, Maverick is going to present the 40th Annual Idaho Regatta, June 26, 27, and 28 at the Burley Golf Course Marina. Wow. I mean, this is going to be such a great event with all these great, big, high-powered, big speed boats coming in, and it's going to be exciting. And Thursday, June 25th, they're going to have the show and shine and a fish fry, and that's going to be hosted by the city of Rupert. And then, of course, the big boat parade on Friday, the 26th, and the meet and greet and all that. And then, oh boy, the racing starts all the way through the weekend. Rum, 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 and away they go. 40th Idaho Regatta at the Burley Golf Course Marina. Don't you miss it. Going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Okay. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. What else have I got here? Another presidential onslaught of Republican candidates. Now it is official that Jeb Bush has thrown his hat in the presidential ring. Yippee-ki-yay. Yeah, I'm so excited. I do not want Jeb Bush to win. I do not want Jeb Bush to run. I do not want to think of or even perceive of a Hillary Clinton and Jeb Bush attack on the American public. I don't like either one of them. I don't like either one of them. And if that's the best that we can have try to be president of this country after we have seen generations go through the Bushes and the Clintons, and now we've got more of it. More of it. I don't want it. I don't want any part of it. And I certainly hope that Jeb Bush goes down in flames trying to get the nomination. And then also, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, yep, he is going to jump into the ring. And then also another one. And you may laugh at me on this. And go ahead and you can teeter and hee-hee all you want. But the third one that's considering jumping into the fray and will probably announce sometime this week is Donald Trump. Now, you go, there you go. You started to laugh already. I can hear you. Tee-hee, titter. No. I'm not so sure that maybe Donald Trump wouldn't be a good presidential contender and nominee. The guy knows money. And the guy is pretty doggone hard-nosed. Now, I know right away you're saying, oh, my gosh, Zeb, come on, not Trump. But think about it. He knows how to make deals. He knows how to make sure that we get the best deal, or he gets the best deal. And right now, we are not getting any deals at all in our favor. We are gimme to everybody else but us. And I like his attitude when he sits down and talks in conversations about we need to be tougher, we need to be demanding, we need to put back the pride in America. I can't argue with that. And maybe he wouldn't be such a bad choice now that we've got like 375 contenders for the Republican nomination. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of them. But anyway, those are the ones that are going to be throwing their hat in the ring this week. There you go. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I started to tell you a story about the government telling us where we can live and where we can't live. I got to get into that in just a minute, or give me a call at 436-2244. Want to be sure and be ready for summer travel. Oh, you're going to go see Aunt Martha in Des Moines, Iowa, or you're going to go and see Granny down in San Diego. Well, I'll tell you what, the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers have a free pre-trip safety check. I've practiced that, and it just rolls right off my tongue right now. And it includes a visual inspection of many of the what could be danger zones on your car. So you stop in for that free pre-trip safety check today at any one of the 7 Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And check out the best in brake service. You don't want to leave on a trip and not know about your brakes. And I'll tell you what, they are really, really good. Along with the front end alignment, shocks and struts, all the batteries, everything, of course, they've got all the tires too. You know that. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You was going to talk about that. They was going to tell you where to live.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. They tried that in Detroit. Remember back in the late 70s?
Yep.
Built all them nice, fancy apartments and that, and then let the people move into it.
Yeah.
Guess what? In less than 2 years' time, graffiti all over the place.
Yeah.
Windows knocked out, doors torn off. Yards was a mess, yet that was for the freebies, and move in and enjoy the neighborhood. I don't want that around here.
What is the matter with you? How in the world can you be so discriminatory? How can you fight against a utopian society? Why, you're a harsh old man.
Yeah, look what it turned into, a big junkyard.
I agree. I agree totally.
I got you to agree to something.
Well, yes, I'm absolutely kind of playing devil's advocate with you, but it's stupid to think that they can integrate people into the higher end of different cities' societies and expect to get a utopian society. In plain, simple English, Alan, it ain't going to work.
That's right. It ain't going to work.
All right. Thank you, Al.
Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye. I tell you what, government interference, government management, government saying you will live over here, government saying the lower-end housing will go into the higher-end areas for a utopian society. Isn't that great? No, it's not going to work. Oh, boy. June Dairy Month. Thank you to the United Dairymen of Idaho for all you do. And coming up next hour, who we got? My old buddy, Doug Johnson in Colorado, along with ADF, Gary Kupek, and Idaho Grows with BASF, Ron Ellis. All of that coming up next hour. I'll see you back here in 6. Oh, my. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday morning. Absolutely beautiful outside. Going to be a nice week. And we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and service is the key. Along with some of our great advertisers, Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, and everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley-Wide. They've got that great big antique tractor show coming up this next weekend. Don't miss it at Valley-Wide, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Locally owned and operated, and serving you with the best of getting rid of your garbage. That's it, plain and simple. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get a hold of them today. Wonderful people serving you. By the way, we open up the program every morning with our weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-6945. Look for the blue door. All your newly refurbished furniture, carpet, flooring, kitchen construction, all of this and more to make your house a home. At Cheney Flooring and Home Design in Burley, look for the blue door. Really good folks. Great folks, nice folks, always serving you folks at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward and his family and his staff, and always serving you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. They really care. And very flexible hours, too, to serve you when you need service for you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one. Please get a hold of them today. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Very nice people. Well, talking about very, very nice people, we have, of course, my dear friend in Colorado, Doug Johnson. Doug, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Well, it's a good day. How are you doing?
Fantabulous. And I want to start things off by, I've got your latest blog right in front of me. And quite frankly, I agree with almost each and every sentence that you had in there about easily duped, contemptible fools we are in regards to the established Republican Party and the old guard. I am fed up with the old guard. I am fed up with the Jeb Bushes. I am fed up with the Lindsey Grahams. Why and how do these old guard people retain their power over the party?
Well, they retain the power, Zeb, because the American voters do not do their job. As I show briefly in this blog post, they can. What we have to realize is probably, maybe if we're lucky, 10% of Americans pay attention to what's going on. And the sad part is, of those 10%, the majority of them are paying attention to the left wing, not to the right wing. So it's a tough uphill battle we're fighting, and because people aren't involved. Most people don't pay attention and aren't listening to shows like yours or hopefully reading stuff like I write. And so the result is we have fallen away from our responsibilities, and our founders warned us of this, but we have become lackadaisical. We, not just from and I talk about the teaching in our schools, being poor, we don't teach civics, we don't teach proper history and stuff, but even in our homes, everything has fallen apart, and this problem is so deep. And so now we have these people in power, and getting them out of power is much tougher than if we would have never let them in the first place.
Doug, I want to ask you something in regards to an issue that was voted on last week, and it was voted down, and that was the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement. I read bits and pieces of it. I know I didn't sit down and read the entirety, but I was very, very concerned about what it might do to enhance more illegal and illicit immigration into this country, and also certain aspects of that trade agreement I thought were going to be very, very negative against our agricultural growth in this country. That being said, holy smokes, I was actually put on the same aisle as the Democrats that fought it, and the Republicans were siding with Obama. What happened to me?
Well, I think we have, you've raised, in one sentence or one small little paragraph, you've raised a whole bunch of important issues, and they're all important. So let's just kind of hit them real quickly, and then we'll kind of go back to them if you want to. The trade agreement is a nightmare, and I was a huge Ted Cruz supporter, and he has lost my support now because he supports this. This is very bad for America, and the reason the Democrats support it is because unions are against it. It will hurt the American worker. It is not good for America. And so this is a good example of where when we can agree on something, we should all band together regardless of what side of the aisle we're on, because we want to do what's best for America. That said, the Republicans have this mindset that they have to give this fast-track authority to Obama, which gives him unbelievable power to negotiate treaties and trade deals and affect immigration, all sorts of stuff. And, you mentioned you hadn't read the whole thing, and I realize you're saying you hadn't read what's available because whether the audience knows it or not, but the actual agreement is not available for Americans to see.
That's right.
In fact, when our elected representatives, our people in the Senate, go in to read it, they have to go into a room. They can't bring any kind of recording device or camera. They can't write down any notes. They can read it. They're not allowed. At the threat of going to prison, they cannot discuss it with anybody. And we're hearing from them, from people like Paul Ryan and even Ted Cruz are saying, well, we need to pass it so we can see what's in it. I mean, this is Nancy Pelosi and Obamacare all over again, Zeb. And then when you add to that, you have people like Scott Walker, who a lot of people have liked. I've had my skepticism about him, but Scott Walker's thrown his support behind it. You see all these people who you would think would stop and say, wait a minute, if we can't see it and we can't talk about it, something's wrong. And so we have a real bad situation on our hands there. And what's worse is, while it was defeated Friday, immediately after it was defeated, John Boehner said, well, we'll have a new vote on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so he and Obama spent the weekend trying to change people's minds. And it looks like they're probably going to get it passed tomorrow. Now, I'm going to say one more thing, and I'll just make the comment, Zeb, and then we can come back to it if you're interested. I believe there was a reason why he chose Tuesday over any other day, because I think it's bigger than just the trade agreement.
Oh, I do too. And you know what? I guess I'm going to have to change my party status. I'm going to have to call myself an Indemlican. I'm an independent Democrat and Republican, so I'm going to have to call myself an Indemlican from now on.
Well, I call myself an independent, and I'm not opposed to people. If you want to stay in the Republican Party, that's fine. I gave up on them in 1999 when they abandoned the American people and would not uphold the law and hold Bill Clinton accountable for his perjury. But regardless, I think being transpolitical, to use a term I heard earlier this morning, which is kind of like what you're talking about, maybe right now is important, because I think what has happened is we, it's like the person who supports somebody blindly.
Yeah.
You can't support anybody or anything blindly. You have to always be thinking and always be analytical. The only person I support blindly is Jesus Christ. Anybody else, no way. In fact, I have a saying in our household that if my wife and I disagree, well, let me rephrase that. The only two people whose opinion are important to me, Zeb, are my wife and God. And if those two disagree, God wins.
Yep.
Now, fortunately, in my married life, my wife has never disagreed with God, and so I've not had a problem there. But the point is that we have to look to an ultimate right and wrong in everything, and even in those we trust, because sometimes people do deceitful things. Sometimes people just make mistakes. But we have to be very careful, and we have to be on guard at all times.
But, Doug, here I am. I'm in a quandary this morning. I am in a deep pool of water that's getting deeper all the time. Now I can't affiliate with any party because I don't know what they're going to stand for. And I'm not making a joke. I guess I'm going to have to be an Indemlican in a very transpolitical cesspool of ideas. This is nuts that all of a sudden I find myself on the same side as the Democrats that were opposing the trade agreement. Oh, the roof is falling, Doug.
Yeah, I think what it is it exposes the corruption in the Republican Party. I have said for a long time that you probably, if you got really serious about who the solid conservatives were in Congress, you would be hard-pressed to come up with 24. And I think this is showing through. On any given issue, you're going to have some variation, but this is an issue that is critical to America, and it's going to hurt Americans. It's going to cost us jobs. But even setting all that aside, the fact they won't let us see what's in it.
Yep.
We're not talking about military secrets here. The fact they won't let the American people see what's in it or even talk about it with the press says to me something's wrong. We are not a nation built on lies and secrecy. We were founded upon openness, transparency, and Judeo-Christian values, which means honesty and integrity. And we're not seeing that out of our elected representatives right now. And I fear what's going to happen. The result of, and this is a pivot point, Obama trade is one of them. But because of what the Republicans are doing and have done since the 2014 midterms, I believe that we are probably going to see a wholesale fallout in the 2016 elections, and there's a very good chance the Democrats will sweep not only the White House but Congress. I fear that, but I think there's a good chance because many, many people in America, the core voters in America, the conservatives, are fed up. And I think people are ready to say enough.
You know, and this is kind of a related story somewhat, Doug, but I wanted to mention to you this morning that in a very subtle fashion last week, it hit the news services somewhat, and then all of a sudden it was released again on Friday afternoon that the government wants to regulate where you live and what neighborhoods you move into and who moves into your neighborhood. The government wants to have lower-end housing move into higher-end areas for integration to create a utopian society. Doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy all over, Dougie?
I am. I'm very warm and fuzzy right now. Thank you, Zeb. But actually, what a lot of people aren't realizing about this thing, and I can't speak to this as well as, say, Tom DeWeese, who's probably the number one expert on Agenda 21. He's the American Policy Center. You probably had him on. But anyway, this is part of Agenda 21, of trying to control where we live. They're moving towards trying to take away our individual property rights. And this is all part of that process. And so what you're going to see, of course, is American people will say they'll resist, but this thing will backfire temporarily, but in the long run, if things continue down the path we're on, they will win. And it's pretty sad because I think the American people are pretty capable of making a decision of where they want to live. And I don't know, Zeb, I don't remember any time in, say, since the mid-'60s that I've ever been anywhere where anybody who wanted to couldn't live there.
Yeah.
As long as you could afford to live there, you're welcome to live there.
Absolutely.
But with Obama's idea that he's going to actually throw money to communities, and he's going to say, look, you need some money, we're going to give you money, but here's what you got to do. You got to zone this area in this wealthy part of your community. You got to zone it for affordable housing, and we're going to bring in, and this is something a lot of people don't realize, it's not just housing for low-income people. This is housing that they're going to bring in Middle Eastern immigrants, Somalis, Syrians, people like this, Muslim immigrants that plant in these communities and then bring a lot of other lower-income people in, because the goal is also to influence the community with a strong push for left-wing support. And so we're going to see a real nightmare if this goes through. And if the Democrats win the White House and win control of Congress, this will hold up.
I agree.
I would like to say if the Republicans do, it won't, but it really depends on who the Republican is. And I want to mention something you may have already talked about. I'm just going to mention it briefly. Tomorrow Donald Trump's going to tell us if he's running.
Yep.
I think he's going to. And I think the reason that the Republicans scheduled the Obama trade vote for tomorrow is to take away from Donald Trump, because the greatest threat to the establishment of all the candidates is Donald Trump, for the simple reason that he has more facial recognition and name exposure to the American public than anybody else running, including Hillary or Jeb, because he's a big TV star. People who don't watch the news, they see TV, they see Donald Trump. He's outspoken, and he will speak to the core issue that drives every election, that is the economy and jobs. And he won't be accountable to the Republican Party in doing so, and they don't like this. So I think that throwing this vote tomorrow, also they're hoping will take away from his announcement. But I think if he gets in, whether he can win or not, I don't know, but he certainly can affect the debate in the primaries.
You know what, Doug? You must have been listening to the first hour this morning, because I can play back the tape, and that's exactly what I was talking about, is Donald Trump getting involved in the race. I couldn't care less about Jeb Bush. I don't want him to run. I couldn't care less about Chris Christie. I don't want him to run. I don't want probably 99% of them to run, but I said last hour that, you know something, whether you like the man or whether you hate the man, that is your own choice. But I will say this, nobody knows business better, nobody could negotiate better, and no one would be tougher for the pride in America that Trump would. Now, I'm not advocating for him, I'm just stating a purpose of why I think he should run, is because he's going to make the other ones, I think, toe a much stronger line.
I think so, too, and I think Americans, as a comparison, we use Mitt Romney, who was just a fraction as wealthy as Donald Trump. I mean, compared to Donald Trump, Mitt Romney's a pauper. But Donald Trump is successful, he's wealthy, and here's the difference. He's proud of it. Mitt Romney kind of downplayed it, was kind of embarrassed by his wealth and success. And I always said, if he would play it up and say to Americans, I've had a tremendous blessing being an American, and I want every American to have the same opportunities I had. That's exactly what Donald Trump will do. In fact, what he has said, and I've recently made it a point to kind of study him, and I'm absolutely fascinated by his position on a lot of things. I'm finding myself liking him because he's saying, we're going to close down the border. I'm going to build a wall like nobody can build a wall. He says, we're going to stand up to foreign governments and not let them take advantage of us and take our jobs. We're going to turn to companies and say, for example, build vehicles in Mexico and say, fine, build your vehicles in Mexico, but anything you bring back into this country to sell, we're going to charge you a 35% tax rate to encourage them to bring the jobs back into America. He even has said that he wants to stand up to Middle Eastern countries and countries that treat women the way these countries who keep them oppressed do, and say we're not putting up with it anymore. This is a guy who doesn't care who you are. He will get in your face and stand up to you. And frankly, Zeb, I think the American people, if they see that, they will embrace it, because Americans are tired. That we are really tired of not being the leader in the world anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that will be an appeal that can have great potential. And the last thing I'll say on it is that he has chosen the same theme Ronald Reagan successfully ran on, which is, let's make America great again. And that's a tremendous theme.
Boy, there you go. You should have been on the first hour with me. Man, we could have had a orchestrated effort for Donald Trump. Listen, real quick, I also wanted to mention, and give me a short answer on this because I'm almost out of time, Doug.
Sure.
The hypocrisy that's going on in our country, the lying about people's past, their heritage, their ancestry, and now we find out that a certain NAACP leader lied about being black. I mean, when are people going to stand up and start telling the basic truth again?
Well, that's a great question. And, of course, it starts in our homes with our kids and such. But I think what we have to do is not give it credence and ignore it. For example, and there are people who may be offended by this, although I doubt it in your audience, but Bruce Jenner. I hear all these people referring to him as Caitlyn and as a female.
Nope.
I'm sorry. God made him a male. I don't care what he does to his body. He will always be a male.
Yep.
And when he faces God on Judgment Day, God will address him, I am sure, as Bruce.
Yep.
And I think he's, people like that, or this woman that you're talking about, I think it was Spokane.
Yep.
There's something really, really wrong emotionally with these people. Part of me feels very sorry for them, but that doesn't mean we give in to their whims. We must stand up to it and say, no, the truth is the truth, and this is where we stand.
This morning, right on down the road, I mean, we carved a trail through the wilderness, and we're both walking and hiking on the same trail. I agree with everything you said emphatically. And for all the endemlicans out there, I'm going to coin that phrase. That's Zeb Bell's new word. For all the endemlicans out there that don't know where they're going, just listen to Doug and I, and we'll straighten you out. Doug, God bless you. Have a wonderful week, and we'll look forward to having you back next week.
That sounds great. Zeb, you have a great week, too.
God bless you. Thank you so much. My friend, Doug Johnson in Colorado, and I really appreciate him being on the program with us this morning. Father's Day's coming up this next weekend. Daddy's going to sit in the lazy boy or out in the lounge chair, and everybody can just bring him lemonade and Kool-Aid and everything else. I'll tell you what, it's sponsored by the Goodie Basket at 133 West Main in Burley. And Shelley and the gals can make up a basket for your dad or your hubby, and they can bring them in all different kinds, with the jerky and the peanuts and the brownies, and they can also deliver sandwiches and salad to their place of work. Oh my goodness, delivery in the Minicash area. You're going to love all the goodies from the Goodie Basket at 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. And also, happy Father's Day. I'm choking. From the Magic Valley Irrigation folks, Jeff and the rest of the crew wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day. And for all your irrigation needs, don't forget new pivot system or anything you need as far as parts and equipment. Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley, 678-3101. Happy Father's Day. There you go. Coming up this next weekend, and a lot of fun to be had by all, I'm sure. I hope the weather is nice this next weekend for all the dads to enjoy outside activities. Excuse me, got a little hay fever cough here this morning. Don't forget, let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh my, I felt terrible that I couldn't go on that ride Saturday. I missed the ride. I did. Dennis, I'm sorry. I missed it. I had work to do. Let's ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, where the fun is sold. The number to call, 436-4771. They've got all the new watercraft. Oh, I mean fun on the water. All the watercraft over there for you at Let's Ride. And great time to get in and check out all the different ATVs, all the four-wheelers out there. My goodness, every shape, every size, every color. They're waiting for you on the showroom floor at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Yep, that's where the fun is sold. Really good, folks. And don't forget, too, Cameron and Siemens, Highway 24 in Rupert. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens. Wonderful, very knowledgeable, and very helpful. Yep, that's right. Both those guys really can help with your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. And Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, very accessible and devoted to serving you. Make an appointment today. Call them at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. By the by, I want to remind you, my good buddy Dave Zanino was over here the other day, as a matter of fact. The fourth in a summer series team roping at the Jerome County Fairgrounds will take place this Wednesday night. Sign up at 6:30, rope at 7, 3 for $25 draw pot. Enter up to 6 times. And for more information on this roping or any of the series ropings, call Dave at 431-1263. Dave Zanino. Really, really good old boy. June Dairy Month. My goodness sakes, June Dairy Month is here, and we're ready to say thank you to Sportsman's Warehouse at 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Everything, Reese says, everything perfect for Daddy's Day. All the fishing equipment, all the hunting equipment, all the camping equipment. Sportsman's Warehouse has it all, and all the top professionals inside Sportsman's Warehouse that can help you. 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, along with some other great folks that we want to say thank you to, and that's Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West of Paul, and their new location at 22342 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Bryce at the Paul store and Paul at the Kimberly store. My goodness, they've got everything for you. They will get you wet. Butte Irrigation, wishing you and yours, along with Sportsman's Warehouse, a very fun-filled, delicious-filled June Dairy Month. Thank you very much. Let's go to the phone lines right now. And we've had a slight change in personnel for this morning on this program with Alliance Defending Freedom. And we say good morning to Matt Sharp. Matt's been on our program before. Good morning, Matthew. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself, Zeb?
Not too bad. Where are you calling from anyway, Matt?
From Atlanta, Georgia, where we're already at a nice, balmy 90 degrees this morning.
Matt, wait a minute. I've been in Atlanta. I announced the 1996 Olympics down in Atlanta. The word balmy and Atlanta do not go together with that humidity.
That's right. Yeah, no. Yeah, it's, we try and deceive ourselves around here. It's the only way we can bear it sometimes. So
I'm glad you're on the program this morning, Matt, because I'm getting absolutely teed off. Those are the words I'll use for having the secular society try to tell me when I can pray, where I can pray, when I can't pray, what I should do, what I can't do. And it looks like that was imposed over in Colorado, too. Bring us up to speed on that story.
Absolutely. Well, this involves Chase Windebank. He was a senior at a high school in Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs, very conservative area, focus on the families based there. You would think this would be a tolerant place for Christians, but we're finding that even places like that are not welcome being for Christians anymore. So during his freshman year, Chase had started a prayer gathering. They had a kind of a homeroom period during the school day, and students were excused for part of it where they could go and hang out with friends and have some free time. And so while other students are playing games, hanging out in the hallways, texting on their phone, Chase decides to pray. And so this is very slow at first, just a couple students joining him, but year after year after year, this grows. And so by the start of this last school year, over 90 students, rather than hanging out in the hallways or texting on their phones, were praying for the school, praying for each other, building a strong community there. And it was just going fantastic. Well, next thing you know, school official shows up, calls Chase to the office and says, Chase, you got to cut it out. No more praying during this free time. You guys can do other stuff, but you can't pray, not only now, but at any point during the school day. You cannot pray on campus anymore.
I'm sitting here, I'm just getting madder all the time, and to think that someone during a free time that could be used for study, it could be used for almost any number of things, and they're told that they can't bow their heads and pray. Let me ask you something. How would they discern whether they were just having some private internal meditation? I mean, who's going to be the discerning factor there?
Absolutely. Well, the sad thing is if they were probably doing meditating or anything else, they'd be, of course you can go ahead and do that. No problem.
Yeah.
But the moment they start praying, and specifically for Chase and his friends, praying in the name of Jesus, that's when, we can't have that separation of church and state and this and that. And it was just so tragic because for so many students, this was really a source of strength for them. High school's tough. You've got all this peer pressure, all of these tests and everything else. And just to have a few minutes during the week when you can set all of that aside and just pray for strength, pray for one another, sing some songs together, and doing so very peacefully and without any problem for 3 years. It was really sad that the school would target this group. And so, these students, they're going to respect the school authority, and so they had to move it to before school. And unfortunately, the numbers dwindled. So you go from 90 to, it's sometimes, only 1 or 2 people showing up because it's harder for students to get there before school. A lot of them don't have rides, don't have a car, don't have a source of transportation. And so by the fiat of the school officials canceling prayer, now the numbers dwindled and so many students lose out on this important opportunity to gain strength from prayer. And that's really what led Chase to, with help from ADF, file a lawsuit challenging the school, saying, no, you guys are wrong. You can't ban prayer during free time like you think you can. It's the constitutional right of students to be able to do that.
Matt, I'm just an old fogey. I'm an old cowboy type here in southern Idaho, and I guess maybe I've got to have something drilled into my head that I'm not aware of. But golly gee whiz, there is no such thing as separation of church and state in any part of our Constitution. It was a letter, a private letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Baptist churches at that time. So where do these people get up on their high horse to regulate and dictate as to what is a separation of church and state?
Yeah, they've really got this skewed view that anytime you've got a school or a government facility, no religion is allowed there. None. You can't pray. You can't invoke the name of Jesus. I mean, we get kids being told they can't wear religious shirts and religious clubs and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just complete nonsense. You look back to Thomas Jefferson's letter. The concern was always with the church getting their noses into the affairs of the church. So the government getting their noses in the affairs of the church. And they were saying, hey, don't worry about it. The government's not going to mess with you guys. That's what they were concerned about. And now we're seeing the complete reversal. Religion isn't allowed in school, but the government is more and more sticking their nose in the church. And it's just a complete misreading and just mangling of what Thomas Jefferson was writing about in there, so that now the kids are told they can't pray and the churches are under investigation by the IRS. And so this is just where we're seeing, this radical atheist left using this idea of separation of church and state that, like you said, is nowhere in the Constitution, beating it in the heads, deceiving people about it, and making them think that they have to check their religion at the door, that they can't bring it to work, that they can't bring it to school. And that's what was so encouraging about this case, to see a group of high school kids standing up and saying, no, this is important and we're not going to give up our rights. And so Chase ultimately prevailed. The school backed down. They had to change their policy. They recognized that students have a right to pray during lunch, during other free times during the day. And so all because Chase had the courage to stand up and say, hey, there is no separation of church and state. We've got a right to pray during free time at school. The school had to change its policy and recognize we can't ban prayer during the day. We've got to allow students to pray.
Yeah, but Matt, it's not just this young man, and it's not just the state of Colorado. It's not just Colorado Springs. It's anywhere USA. Because I'll say this, and if I offend somebody, it's me, not you, but the without a backbone school administrators will cave at the drop of a hat when somebody comes in from the ACLU or whatever and says, oh, you can't do that, separation of church and state. Where's the backbone? And quite frankly, where's the knowledge on what really happened and what really was said?
Oh, absolutely. You're right on. I mean, these school officials ought to be teaching students what freedom means, and that sometimes you have to take a stand for freedom, and you have to take a stand against groups like the ACLU that are threatening your school and threatening you with attorney's fees and all of this stuff. And when school officials do take a stand, the law's on their side, and they win every time if they'll just take a stand for students' rights, for free speech and freedom of religion at school. They're going to win every time. But I think so many of these school officials, unfortunately, have bought into the ideology of groups like the ACLU. They agree with them, and so of course they're not going to take a stand when they come knocking. They're going to go in and they're going to censor religion. Specifically, the Christians always seem to get targeted, but they're going to censor them, they're going to deny them their rights. And it's only because of students and parents standing up and saying this is wrong that we can push back against these school officials. Sometimes they do just need information, and we try and do that as well. But a lot of times we're seeing school officials that are openly hostile towards Christianity in the schools.
Matt, last question here this morning, and maybe this is really naive on my part. You're the attorney. You're the man with the knowledge. But why haven't they consolidated together? Why hasn't someone from like Liberty College, Liberty University, etc., or any school led this charge and sued the ACLU and other groups for really coming up with bogus charges about the separation of church and state?
Yeah, I know. You would think after all these years, and again, these groups are profiting from this. ACLU, they put out stuff, they bully these schools, they file these cases. It's their bread and butter in a lot of ways of trumpeting up, Christians are taking over schools and all of this stuff. And I look at situations like this, I'm saying, no, Christians are the ones under attack. They're the ones that are having to stand up for the simple right to be able to pray together. And so it's so sad that the ACLU has gotten away with as much as it has. But I think we're starting to see more and more people standing up, pushing back, even seeing some school officials reject the demands of the ACLU and take a stand for freedom. And that's what it takes, just keep standing up, keep standing firm on what our rights are and what the Constitution says. And that's the best way that we can deal a blow of defeat to the ACLU and groups like them, is to stand up and say, you're wrong. Courts say that this is what our rights are. Courts say that we've got a right to pray, and through standing up we can continue to minimize the ACLU's influence in our schools.
Final thought on this, though, Matt. The legal system itself, whether it's attorneys or whether it's judges, why aren't they more cognizant of what the do's and the don'ts are and the reality of this situation so that most judges would just laugh this right out the back door of the courtroom? How come they're not more cognizant of really how much of a foolish outreach this is to try to impose this on schools?
Yeah, it is pretty sad that a lot of times we do get judges that don't know what the law is or that misinterpret it. But I will say at the same time, we've had some good judges that we brought some of these cases, and immediately they're knocking on the school's door saying, hey, you're violating the law. You're going to lose this case. Why don't you settle quickly before your fees get racked up and you end up getting a judgment from me? So, the more that we can bring these cases and the more that we can raise awareness and we can get before judges and we can file pleadings with them to educate the judges of what the law is, I think the better we're going to be. Sometimes judges, they get caught up in special little world of criminal law and they don't deal with this thing and they're misinformed, and so a lot of our work is not only informing schools of what the law is, but even educating judges to say, hey, judge, you may not be familiar with this case, but this is the one that says students have a right to share their faith or to pray or whatever it may be. And so these cases are important not only to change schools, but to change lawyers, to change judges, and to ultimately transform the legal system so that it recognizes and respects basic religious freedoms.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I'm really impressed with everything you do, and I certainly appreciate it, Matt. And tell us and our audience how they can follow this case and anything else going on with the Alliance Defending Freedom.
They can visit our website. It's www.alliancedefendingfreedom.org. You can learn more about this case and so many more that we're involved in and how to help us continue this fight to defend students' rights. And if your listeners have a situation, if they've got a school official that's cracking down on Christians being able to pray or start a club, give us a call. This is what we do, and we would love nothing more than to be able to come in, defend their case, and help educate school officials, lawyers, judges, whoever we can, about what our fundamental constitutional rights are.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Matt Sharp with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Excellent conversation. Thank you, my friend. God bless.
God bless you too, Zeb.
Thank you very much. I appreciate those folks, and I'm very blessed to have them on my program every Monday at 9:30. The Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you very much for all that you do. We're going to have a weather forecast right now, and then we're going to talk to my dear friend Ron Ellis with BASF, so stand by for that. And the weather is brought to you this hour by Duck Uglies at 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, ho, 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 ho. Have you eaten at Duck Uglies? Well, let me tell you something, folks. One of my very favorite places to go, not only for the delicious food, but the great entertainment. Holy smokes, they've got great entertainment there. People like Barton and Bowler and Callie and Emily and Ned Carter. I mean, man, what a great place to go. And today is Monday, and they've got a special for us older folks. The Old Duck Decoy Special. Quarter-pound burger, fries, and a drink. Monday only, today only at Duck Uglies. If you're 55 and a half years of age or older, it's only $6. Only $6. Holy smokes, you ought to run in there today. Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. And right now here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Morning, everybody. You got a nice day today with temperatures in the 80s, and it's going to continue that way for, throughout the midweek, and then there's a possibility of precipitation in the form of rain, but that's later on. Other than that, though, you got a nice way to start out the work week with temperatures in the low to mid-80s, and the low 50s got here, but there you go. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you very much. And brought to everybody by Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. Great food and, of course, fantastic entertainment. Right now we're going to be starting a brand new segment on our program every Monday at this time, and it's with BASF and Ron Ellis. Absolutely. Helping Idaho grow with BASF. Good morning, Ron Ellis. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb Bell. I'm just absolutely perfectly wonderful right now.
You scared me because you just called my cell phone a few minutes ago and I'm on the air, and I thought, how does Ron think I'm going to be able to talk to him on my cell phone?
I didn't want you to be the only one that was nervous.
Ron, I think it would be fitting at this time, before we get into too much about the different crops and too much about the various things that BASF does for farming, give us a little background of BASF and you and exactly what you do to help agriculture.
Well, I appreciate that. I was just thinking about that. Zeb, you and I are a couple horse apples that have been bumped down the trail for a lot of years. I mean, I'm in this industry now for 41 years, and I know the young bucks out there are laughing and cackling, saying, what the heck is wrong with that guy? But when you love it and you got it burning in your gut, you just keep doing it. So, yeah, BASF is the largest chemical company in the world, not in the United States, but in the world, and has sites all around the world where they manufacture and help the growers grow with different products. So it's been a great company to be a part of. And the interesting thing is I have the opportunity to not only work with the dealer network, but a number of growers out there too. So it's been an exciting ride for me throughout the whole time of my career.
You know, Ron, when we talk about BASF and we talk about chemicals and we talk about agriculture, and I'm going to be very blunt, there are those that are uninformed, there are those that are uneducated, and there are those that just want to get up on a soapbox and condemn agriculture and all of its extra proponents like BASF, etc. Why? We have the safest agricultural commodities grown anywhere in the world.
Well, we do, Zeb, and we've got the safest food supply and the best food supply, and we have a population that's living much longer than it used to. And you and I have had these conversations before, and I still contend that education is the best process, but it's hard because we fight an uphill battle with the liberal persuasion that most of the persuasion out there in the larger cities just fall in line with what's being regurgitated and fed to them, and so we just have to kind of educate where we can and still be heavily involved in the ag business. And for example, one of the products we're going to talk about is this headline, and I don't know how many people realize that, but the Strobilurin chemistry was derived from a mushroom. So if you can imagine, that's just about as natural as you can get, or as organic as you can get. So we get a bad rap for things, but I don't know any grower that I've ever worked with out there that wants to spend more money for any type of chemical out there than what he absolutely needs to bring him a return on his investment or control pests. So it's just an education process, and you and I started together a long time ago with the FFA in Burley. And I think that's the heartbeat of our ag right now is a lot of these FFA kids.
Ron, there seems to be so many things that are out to hurt agriculture. There's so many plant diseases. There's so many things to stymie production to keep us number one in the world of feeding the world. How does BASF or you or anyone keep up with this? And tell us a little bit about the research for all these products.
Yeah, that's a good point. Many of the growers, I think most of them, are familiar with Headline, which is chemically is pyraclostrobin, derived from, like I said, the nature of the mushroom. And there's a lot of strobilurin chemistry out there, and they were all derived from that. And they've spent, all manufacturing companies spend millions and millions of dollars in research and development, safety, regulatory concerns to try to bring products to the market. And so it isn't like, we're just throwing unsafe products out there. It's a huge investment for every manufacturing company out there to bring a product to market. And so those of us that are willing to pay the price, to become educated, to want to build the relationships, to go out on the farm site and make a difference, or with the dealers in the field, man, to be coachable and training them, because you look at a crop advisor, a field man out there working with the growers or the growers themselves, and they have to funnel every type of chemistry out there through that funnel into production and what to use. And when you're talking about, for example, a potato crop that's taken anywhere from $2,800 to $3,200 an acre to grow for input costs when you consider land or lease, or everything in general. So you're talking about probably somewhere around the $7 or $7.50 per hundredweight of potatoes just to break even, which we know a lot of times the growers don't do. So yes, they do need to be very, very conscious of cost, but the avenue that they get sucked into a lot of times is cheap. Well, when you're farming for maximum economic yield, it's not always the cheapest product that's going to bring you the return on your investment at the end for both quality and yield. So that's where I get heavily involved in working with the industry and try to do some coaching and to bring transparency and education to them, and it's really exciting and fun. And when you have a concern for the triangle effect, and that being the grower, others in the industry, the manufacturer people, and those that service the growers, the retailers, and if we're all in that triangle together, then we make it a wonderful industry to be part of, and then we can be more of a resource to that grower like we should be.
Ron, let me ask you this question, and this may be a little naive on my part, but the industry of maintaining and keeping the very best of growing crops here in the United States, are there new diseases of the plants? Are there new problems that seem to creep up that the environment didn't have before, and that's why all the extensive study for these various chemicals, etc.?
New diseases, that probably in our area in southeastern Idaho, southern Idaho, most of the diseases we've known for some time. Now, some of them pop their head up at different times more aggressively than others, depending on climate and weather and whatnot, temperatures. So really, as far as really a lot of new diseases, not necessarily so, but what we end up having is a lot of the diseases that can become more aggressive depending on variety of crops, and like I said, temperature, climate, those kind of things, humidity. So, for example, if you take a disease like late blight in potatoes, it comes and goes. We have a lot of good products. Every manufacturer has one that can prevent late blight, and most of the growers in potatoes will put something on that controls blight and other diseases, as well as being a preventative for late blight. So we maintain and keep the late blight down a little bit more effective because we become conscientious of that. Then there are, however, several companies manufacture late blight products which are very, very effective on late blight should we get it in the area like we did last year with the wet August. Now, we could have a situation with all the potato culls that are laying around and the volunteers that are in field. We could see that same thing being triggered again this year if we run into a wet situation again in August. And I know the mindset for a lot of the growers is to be there and be thoughtful ahead and have situational awareness in case they need to put something on preventative. Because like I said, when you're talking about a crop that's taking you $2,800 or $3,200 an acre to grow, you don't want to make any mistake.
Well, I'll guarantee you, a person with your knowledge, basically, what is your job? I want to highlight that a little bit. Ron Ellis with BASF. I mean, you're the grower's friend as far as a liaison with all the information about the different products, etc. What's a day in the life of Ron Ellis consist of?
Well, that's an excellent question. I think some people say that he fishes a lot, but I've been accused of that. I wish that I was doing a lot more than what I'm getting accused of. But I'm going to start one of these days before they deep six me. I promise you that. So, in lieu of that, BASF started a program. It's been about 5-6 years ago, called the Value Chain Specialist, and he was to be an interface between the dealer network and the growers and bring education to the grower network. And because, again, I'll reinforce what I said earlier, these fieldmen have a plethora of things on their plate. Not only are they concerned about chemicals, they're concerned about seed, they're concerned about fertilizer, and they have to walk fields, and they have to make timing and recommendations. And, for them to be completely knowledgeable of every product out there is pretty tough. So I bring an interface so that I can represent our products to the grower in a very transparent, educational way so that they will at least have the opportunity of understanding where that fits best. Mm-hmm. Now, I tell you, it's anybody can sell a cheap product, but not anybody can sit down and sell the benefits to make sure that it's a return on investment at the end. If we just attack the front end on just the cost, and then we don't look out for the return on investment on the back end, and maybe that particular product you use up front or we're going to use did not bring near the quality and yield at the end. So that's where I get involved, just try to make sure that they understand that and and at least they have a knowledge of it, and then their decision from that point on, at least I've brought some transparent education to them.
Absolutely. Ron, I think it's safe to say, and very proudly said, that BASF and you are helping Idaho and American agriculture grow. What are we going to be talking about on future segments? Give us a little clue every week as to what we're going to talk about with agriculture and BASF.
Yeah, we're turning the corner here in the potatoes. Row closure usually comes, it's probably going to come a little bit earlier this year in certain varieties of potatoes, but generally speaking, around the 4th of July or that time frame is a good rule of thumb. And that's when white mold can become very evasive and start invading the plant. And so our product, Enduro, which is a phosphorus chemistry, a dry formulation, you put it on, that's the rule of thumb at about row closure. It's a dry product, and the beauty of it is once it dries on the plant and you get irrigation or rainfall, it wets and redistributes down the plant, and that's been a very, very significant part of that chemistry. The old workhorse for years, and it's never failed us in white mold. And then we'll talk about that, and then actually a follow-up competitive product next week that goes hand in hand after applying Enduro. So we'll talk about that.
I tell you what, always a man that I can rely on, and he's one of my dearest friends, Ron Ellis with BASF, and BASF, of course, helping Idaho and American agriculture grow. Ron, the very best to you. God bless you. You always do a great job, and we'll talk to you next week at the same time.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
Take care, my friend. There's a gentleman that I absolutely have the utmost respect for. He's helped me with a lot of projects, and he, of course, was very, very instrumental in putting together all the past projects that we've worked on in saluting the FFA and everything. Ron Ellis, a really, really nice guy. Holy cow, look what time it is. It's time to gallop out of here and turn it back over to Wheels over at our main studio as we get ready for the CBS News, and I'll be back in about 6 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, my. Old Wheels over there at the station doing all the hard work while I sit here and get a chance to say, welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them, get on the route service today, 734-6969. And, of course, our friends at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South of 9 in Rupert. We're going to have Eric and the crew on there later this week talking about the Antique Tractor Show coming up this weekend. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. Hey, before we go any further, I got to remind you what's going on at the Chadwick Sports Grill. Great eating at 139 West Main in Burley. Today they're going to have house battered fish sandwiches served with choice of side and super salad. Always everyday great specials, along with the menu choices and nice people. I love this place, the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in for lunch today at the Chadwick. Also, I want to remind you, too, we want to say thank you to 2 sponsors for our Cassia County School Day segment, and they include Ambulatory Surgery Center, where you can save a lot of money on surgeries at 1344 Highland. Call them for more information, please. These are wonderful people serving you at Ambulatory Surgery Center, 677-8888, 1344 Highland in Burley, along with the Child's World. What a great place to go shopping for the family. I'm telling you, they got all the fun water toys. They got all the activities to keep the kids busy in the back seat during those road trips. Everything at a Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, and they bring you Cassia County School Days on Thursdays. Right now, we're going to say good morning to a gentleman that I don't think has been on my program in the past, and I'm looking forward to having him on the program this morning to talk about an innovative idea in education. And we say good morning to Kevin Glass. How are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I am fantastic. Kevin, I got to have a little fun with you at first because I've got a little bit of a resume on you, and it says he lives in Washington, D.C., where he enjoys the burgeoning restaurant scene and incompetent management of the public transit system. There's kind of a hand-in-the-face type attitude. What's going on with the public transit system?
I mean, it's something of a running joke for those of us, quote-unquote, inside the Beltway insiders. The Washington public transit system is not the most competently run administration in the country, and it's kind of absurd. You know, the D.C. metropolitan area, not D.C. itself, but the surrounding suburbs, which obviously constitute Maryland and Virginia, it's one of the top 10 most populated areas in the entire country, and to have a public transit system that can barely serve the needs of a city half the size is just sometimes laughable.
Well, you know, and I have to agree with you because I've been back there in that area. I've used the public transit system, and in many respects, I think they ought to put a sign up that says, "Attention, you can't get there from here."
Exactly. The lines don't seem to go where you need them to go. They're always breaking down. We've had, and on a serious note, some serious tragedies recently where fatalities occurred, both of people working on the system and some riders a couple of years ago. And they're constantly in a budget deficit. It just seems so incompetently run. And you know, I'm not a transit professional. Most of us are not transit professionals. But it's just odd when we can look at it and say there seems to be some really easy fixes here that the Metro administration is just unwilling to do.
I agree. Let's get to the subject matter at hand this morning, if you would, please, Kevin, and I certainly appreciate you being on the program. I was absolutely taken aback at this new concept in education that's going on at a place called the Acton Academy, and I'll let you kind of fill us in as to what this story is all about.
Sure, absolutely. So one of our reporters at watchdog.org, Mary Tillotson, she dug into this story. And one of the things that we really like to focus on are emerging alternative education models. Basically, you know, we can all see that the public school system fails a lot of children. Not that the public school system isn't adequate for some people, but we just like to see a flourishing of a diversity of education models. So Mary took a look at this charter school called the Acton Academy, which was started in Austin, Texas, but they have branches nationwide now, where they have a very different form of learning where the students themselves are a lot more empowered than the teachers. And it kind of sounds, you know, on first blush like some hippy-dippy idea, but it actually has been producing some really amazing results for children enrolled in some of these school systems. They kind of take an almost Silicon Valley-esque approach to learning where it's very tech-focused. The students themselves set a lot of their educational goals and meet certain requirements, obviously. But it's a really interesting emerging model for parents who have been frustrated with the traditional public school system and really want to see their kids thriving in different models.
Well, tell me this, Kevin, and break it down so that I can understand it. Does it start like at the early ages, first grade, if you will? Does it go all the way through the high school venue? I mean, tell us how it's structured.
Yeah, it's a traditional K through 12 model where the children, they, you know, obviously are at different learning periods and different age groups, but it focuses more on the individual children. So, you know, if a child is particularly educationally well-equipped for his age, he might be learning different material than other kids his age. And it's a way to really tailor a curriculum to the individual students so that, you know, the ones who are more advanced than others, they don't get bored, and the ones who are taking a slower pace have a way so that they don't get left behind by the school system.
Well, I'm a little bit confused. The way it was worded in this sentence that was written by Mary Tillotson, instead of teachers, the school employs guides who create a structure or game or present a problem or question that encourages students to plan their own learning, take initiative for their own learning. I don't understand this. Are they being taught like the basics of math and reading and science, and then they all sit in a circle and they kind of investigate certain topics? I'm not sure I quite understand the mechanics of how this school works.
Right, of course. I mean, it's a charter school, and like many charter schools, you do have to meet certain educational requirements. They're set up by the state. So it's not this completely free-form, free-flowing, anyone can do anything type of system. The children do have academic standards that they have to hew to. The point is that, traditional classroom learning is not the right model for everybody. It works for some people, so that's not to put down the traditional education, public schooling system, but it's a way for parents who think that their kids are not going to be well equipped in that model or well served by those models to bring them into an environment where they still are learning, like you said, the basics, reading, writing, math, those types of things, but in a way that are more tailored to the children's needs.
Would this be, and I want to be careful what I say here, I want to parse my words very carefully, is this a concept or an idea or a goal of education that would be primarily for those parents and families that really can afford to send their children to that type of education?
Well, I mean, this gets into the complicated politics of school choice. They are charter schools, and different states have set up different charter models,
right.
Whether that be it's a lottery system where charter schools can have children from the traditional school system come there, they opt out of the traditional school system, and they are able to attend at low cost. There are, voucher school models. So it's not something that's just for yuppies or rich parents or anything like that. It's a model that's really trying to tap into something that can be applied to everybody, because we don't want to say that for those of us who think that a flourishing of educational models is a good thing, we don't obviously want to say this is only for a certain demographic of parents. And what's a really interesting thing is they've opened a school here in Washington, D.C. recently, and Washington, D.C. has one of the most successful charter school movements in the country, where anyone can apply to opt out of the traditional school system and send their child to any charter school they desire. So It is a system that hopefully applies and is attractive to all sorts of different families from across the socioeconomic spectrum. It's a model I believe, and obviously I don't work for the school. We just thought that this is a really interesting story, a really interesting test case of diversity of economic models. It is, I believe, something that is supposed to be applicable to anyone who thinks that their child would be better off in this kind of educational environment rather than the traditional public system.
What are the thoughts, Kevin, of the NEA? What are the thoughts about teachers? What are the thoughts about education in general as to this type of an academy and this type of learning? What are you hearing from these folks?
Right. I mean, the thing about the NEA is they're generally opposed to most any non-public school system, whether that be private schools, whether that be voucher schools, whether that be charter schools. Any model that pulls students out of the traditional public school system, most teachers' unions are against. Now, they haven't commented on Acton Academy in general, but they usually do try to scaremonger about children who aren't able to, in a non-traditional model, aren't able to meet the academic requirements being put out by the public school system. Well, that's kind of odd because, numbers, you can find numbers anywhere. The public school system basically lags behind every other kind of choice school by any academic standards, whether that be charters or private or voucher schools. So teachers' unions, they generally want to keep their monopoly on education in place, and they generally fight against charter school movements. Now, a lot of that is based on, like I said, scaremongering or kind of, there's this other argument called skimming the top, where they claim that only the best students from public schools go to charter schools, and that's why charter schools have such higher academic standards. That's actually not the case. There's been a lot of social science research showing that it's not only the best students leaving the public school system, even the worst students who leave the public school system end up with better educational outcomes than they would have in the traditional public school system.
Okay.
So like I said, teachers' unions are generally invested in keeping their monopoly on the educational model. And I think what's really interesting is this diversity of models that's occurring when we allow this kind of experimentation and choice to take place.
I noticed there was one sentence in there that caught my attention. It says, quote, "At the beginning of the year, students sign and write behavior contracts." Tell me about that, please.
Sure. I mean, one of the interesting things about the Action Academy is, like I've talked about and what you read on watchdog.org, the students are kind of treated as responsible, mature individuals, or at least as best as we can. So it's we think about high school kids, and we think about college-age kids, and we think about how our society is kind of trying to keep them in this infantilized state. I think what's interesting about Action Academy is that they're trying to push children to be more responsible, more mature, and more take kind of control of their own lives at earlier ages. So it's more of a maximalism about what children believe they can do. And it's interesting to see how when you treat children like they can take responsibility for their educational outcomes, that they do tend to treat them more seriously. So it's a way of giving them kind of a stake in the game. And obviously, this kind of model isn't for everyone, but when you do treat children that way, they do tend to, when you treat them, like they're in control, they do tend to take it more seriously. Whereas if you treat school like it's an obligation and, all of these things are just sucking away their free time from other activities, then they do kind of get into this feedback loop where they dislike school and they think that it's this obligation that they really don't want a part of.
Well, let me ask you this, and I don't mean to beleaguer this subject, but what happens if they break the contract on their behavior? What are the repercussions against the student and or the family?
Well, we didn't get into that in the research. I'm pretty sure, though, that what happens is that the parents and the school themselves kind of take responsibility and they adjust what their children's learning outcomes might be for the future.
Okay. Now, there's 8 schools I read that are presently running, and another 10 will open up in the fall. What are some of the areas that they cover? Is it all across the United States or in one basic area?
So they started in Austin, Texas. So they have, I don't have a full list here, but it's Austin, Texas. It's definitely in California. It's in Washington, D.C. now. They're all over the country. So it's a really interesting model. And I would encourage anyone, not just the Action Academies, take a look at for those of you who have children, take a look at what your educational options are in your area. Because a lot of parents obviously are kind of disappointed with the public school system, with the way that they treat children. And it's a good way, I think, to empower parents to try and educate them and to allow them to take a little more control in their students' lives.
Okay, last thought. I have a picture of you on this information resume sheet. Has anybody ever told you you look a lot like Marco Rubio?
I've heard a lot of different things, but never Marco Rubio. I'll take that as a compliment. I think he's a very handsome man.
Well, the reason I said that is you could almost, from according to this picture, you could almost be his double. And if he goes into the possible nomination for the presidency, just think of all the jobs that would afford you to be his double, to put yourself in all the hazard situations.
I mean, if those double jobs pay well, I might try to look into that.
One last thought. I also said earlier that you enjoyed the burgeoning restaurant scene in Washington, D.C. Restaurants back there, I did say and see that there were a lot of great places to eat with a lot of diversification. It's an excellent place to go if you're on vacation to enjoy some of the local cuisine, is it not?
I would say, yeah. You know, in recent years, you know, we've seen Washington, D.C. has kind of this reputation as a crime capital or a murder capital, and that's more of a vestige of the 90s. And this might be a little pessimistic, but the growth of the federal government and of lobbying the federal government has really brought a huge influx of new people to the area, and that includes, people who want diverse cuisine. So the restaurant scene has actually been a really interesting outgrowth of these new populations who've been moving to Washington in the last 20 years. And I would really recommend anyone definitely take a look at the restaurants when you're here, not just kind of traditional steakhouses or whatever is in the mind of people when they think of Washington, because there's a lot of interesting new places opening up.
Absolutely. Kevin Glass, townhall.com columnist and director of policy and outreach at the Franklin Center for Government and Public Integrity. Whew, that's a mouthful. I appreciate it. Thank you, Kevin, for coming on our program this morning, and come back in the future, would you please?
Thanks a lot for having me. Sure thing.
All right. Thank you very much. Interesting young man right there talking about a brand new type of education. And they're called the Acton Academy. And instead of teachers, here's the line that got me the most interested. Instead of teachers, the school employs guides who create a structure or game or present a problem or question that encourages students to plan their own learning and take initiative for their own learning. Very interesting. And these kids also, as I said earlier, have to sign behavior contracts and live up to them. Like he said, teaching a lot of responsibility that we otherwise may not have. Okay, I got to pay some bills here real quick. This is June Dairy Month, as you know, and tomorrow on the program we're going to give away some more Blizzard certificates to Dairy Queen. Be listening. Oh, by the way, Dairy Queen at 2200 Overland and Burley and 5055 Lincoln and Jerome. My goodness, they've got that all-new Jurassic Smash Blizzard. Oh, it's great with smashed up peanut butter cookies and cookie dough. Oh, my, you're going to try this one. It is fantabulous at Dairy Queen in Burley and Jerome. Along with our friends at the Golden Valley Warehouse at 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. And that's, of course, Royal and the rest of his crew that really has the best seed outfit in all Burley, Oakley Valley. Commercial and custom processors of grain and beans and seed. And they can also custom clean your own seed at Golden Valley Warehouse. And they wish you and yours, along with Dairy Queen, a very happy and fun-filled June Dairy Month. Delicious. Let's see, what else have I got to get on here real quick. Oh, Vicky's. I can't forget Vicky's. Every Thursday at 10:32, actually, we have a segment called Gardening for Idiots, named after me, because I'm not a very good gardener. Deanna, she's exceptional. But Vicky's Country Garden brings you a show about gardening for idiots, and she breaks down everything, how to do this, what to do to take care of this, all the chemical application, along with the weeds and all the varmints that want to wreck your garden. I mean, she can help you with everything. And don't forget, They have everything over there at Vicky's Country Garden. It's your one-stop garden needs shop, Vicky's Country Garden in Paul. The address, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the number to call the lovely Miss Vicky is 438-5663. Vicky's Country Gardens. You stop over and see her today, okay? Also, Deanne and I want you to realize, I got to get this public service announcement here real quick. This is going to be kind of interesting because this is going to be part of the Rupert 4th of July celebration. Pianist Jim Hendricks, professor of music at Chicago State University, will be in concert at the historic Wilson Theater Saturday, June 27th at 7 p.m. Tickets are on sale at the Wilson Theater, the bookstore, Welch's Music in Burley, and at the door. $5, 17 and under, $10 adults, $25 for a family ticket. And pianist Jim Hendricks has been internationally known for his great talents with the Glenn Miller Orchestra, Dave Brubeck. Oh, yeah, he's got to be good. Della Reese and many, many others. And for more information on this, don't forget to call my buddy Gary Shoresman at 436-3982. Okay, that's coming up on June 27th. We're going to take a break for a couple of minutes, send it back over to Wheels at the main station. We'll be back in 3.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, good morning. Welcome back. We're on the home stretch for the program this morning, and we want to say thank you. And don't forget to attend Rupert's 4th of July celebration for 2015 with the theme Salute Our Troops. Absolutely. This is going to be a great event. Starting on June 30th with the Christmas in July breakfast at 6 a.m. And then, of course, they're going to have all kinds of great activities through the day. Fireworks displayed by the Rupert City Fire and Rescue. July 1st, they're going to have all kinds of great music. All kinds of things are going to happen all over Rupert at the fairgrounds and on the square. So don't miss a minute of it. It's going to be Rupert's 4th of July celebration. And on the 4th of July, don't forget Rupert Downs horse races at 2 p.m. and the family rodeo at the fairgrounds at 8 p.m. on the 4th of July. We're going to be telling you a lot more as we go along. Salute Our Troops, this year's theme of Rupert's 4th of July celebration. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, we're going to go to the phone lines, and we have with us Mr. M.D. Kittle on the line. Good morning, M.D. How are you?
He is not available, sir. It's going to his voicemail.
We're going to have that checked out. Deanne's going to come in here. We'll try to get a hold of him. And you will keep trying over there if you would try to get him on the air. And we'll see if we can't find another number just in case, all right?
I will do. When it goes to his voicemail, it does say that to call his office.
Okay.
So I'll write that number down, and I'll try that.
Yeah, do that right away, please, because time is burning. Thank you very much, my friend Wheels. I appreciate it. Well, in the interim, give us a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from, boy, would I like to hear from you now, because we don't expect sometimes having these little things come up and bite us, and we certainly appreciate Wheels trying to get this gentleman on the air this morning. Bevy, according to the paper, a bevy of Republicans are vying for Dean Cameron's Senate seat. And I know many of them personally, and they're all vying for that. And here's kind of a list as to who they had on the air the other day in the newspaper. Rupert City Administrator Kelly Anthon, Clay Handy, and others. And yes, Wheels, I hear you.
He is on the phone, ready for you.
Well, isn't that fortunate? Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. Dan, if you would bring me back my list real fast, please, I would appreciate it. And we're going to go now with Mr. M.D. Kittle, and we're going to be talking about various subjects with him this morning. We've got our guest on the air, and I want to talk about a little bit about credit card problems. But I noticed that, M.D., good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir. Sorry for the delay. Apparently, the call went right to my voicemail. There's modern technology for you.
Oh, sometimes it does not work, but I've got to go back a little bit. I noticed that you're a 25-year veteran of radio, newspaper, and online journalism, and also with Watchdog.org as a bureau chief for Wisconsin. What part of Wisconsin are you from, sir?
Capital City, right here in Madison, Wisconsin. Well, I think they call it 75 square miles surrounded by reality.
Well, I tell you what, sir, the reason I know so much about it is because on this end of the microphone, I was born and raised in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, and attended the university.
Ah, yes, indeed. So you lived in the Shadowland, Madison, where reality and common sense still exist.
Well, to a certain point, the only unifying factor is that when you live in Wisconsin or have been from the Dairyland state, when you cut your finger, you bleed green and gold for the Green Bay Packers.
That's absolutely right. And you do still bleed red for your alma mater as well. It's we are a very Badger loyal nation, and we are a very green and gold Packers loyal nation.
Yeah, and they've gone from a one-horse town as far as football is concerned. They've always had fairly good football teams, but now their basketball program has really come onto the national scene as very prominent and one that has to be reckoned with.
Oh, my goodness, Bo Ryan is doing it here. And I will say, there's a little shameless plug. I was all-star at Bo Ryan's University of Wisconsin Platteville basketball camp in the summer of 1986, my friend.
Oh, my goodness, I'm very humble next to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Listen, I look back and I say to myself, how come I didn't grow any taller since 1986? If I had, and I could have developed a stronger right-hand charge to the basket, I might have been playing on one of those Bo Ryan basketball teams.
Well, I tell you what, he's a great coach, and the University of Wisconsin's had some excellent athletic teams. And this morning, I've got you on the program to talk about Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Wait a minute. What is this? Another thing to watch out for? Are we to be afraid of these people?
Well, I think we should be more alert about this quasi-governmental organization, this shadowy organization that virtually has no oversight from Congress, even though it was created under law under the Obama administration in 2010. And really it was created as kind of a reaction to what we all experienced in the economic collapse, the Great Recession, and the collapse of the financial sector that in large part led to that. So now you have this agency that was created by the Democratic-controlled Congress, signed into law by Obama. This is an Obama administration initiative that basically has all of this power, can operate in the large part under the shadows in a great deal of secrecy. And what they are doing is tapping into the credit card statements of about 80% of all credit card holders in the United States. I would say that is somewhat concerning.
Oh, my goodness. You know, the whole thing I had go through my mind, MD, when I was reading your story, is that George Orwell had the wrong date. It should have been George Orwell's 2015.
Well, everything that he wrote just about was extremely prescient. It just happened a little bit later, I would agree, in his novel 1984. It was supposed to be fiction, but it really did kind of drive home what we've experienced over the last several years in this country. Really even before the Obama administration, but, our reaction to trying to keep ourselves secure. And this is one of those examples, once again, the old Ben Franklin notion that those who would have security over liberty deserve neither. And that's what we have. We have this shadowy agency that is designed to protect ourselves from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately what it has done is it has used that credit card information to find out what we are purchasing, where we are purchasing it, and to go after these sorts of businesses the Obama administration doesn't believe should be in business, basically, even though they're lawful, legal businesses. Businesses like the payday loan industry, the smoking accessory industry, gun sales. There's a long, long list that this Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has basically gone on after with the help of the Obama administration's Department of Justice in something that is called Operation Choke Point.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea of that is to choke off the lines of credit, again, to businesses that the Obama administration doesn't really like.
You know, I sat here and read this, and it created a cold chill up my backbone because this agency seems far worse than the American public could ever perceive. Where are our elected leaders? Where are the people on either side of the aisle? Why aren't they taking their loafers off, pounding them on their desk, and saying we've got to protect our constituents? We can't have this kind of an organization.
Well, I'll tell you, at least one side of that aisle has gone all in on this shadowy organization and trying to protect it. There is a move, it's a slow-moving front from some Republicans who are trying to go after reform of this agency. But as you and I both know, the wheels of justice and Congress turn rather slowly. But that initiative is being led by Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy, who has, at the very least, he has written a number, along with some others, but written a number of pieces of legislation. And they're trying to at least get more congressional oversight of this agency, which was created and fed, so it really doesn't have to say what it's spending its money on, what it's doing, those sorts of things.
Well,
so we did learn in 2014 in a congressional hearing that, this agency, along with its move to tap into mortgage information, consumer financial information, those credit card statements we talked about, they were also asked, here's another chilling point for you, if they could guarantee that all of the information that they're tapping into, and we're talking about extensive information, if they could keep that information secure. And the director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said, no, there's no way of being able to keep that information secure. And you think about all that's gone on with the federal government and the lapses in security for their employees and for American citizens. That's a frightening concept.
MD, I'm going to ask you a very simple, a very naive question. It doesn't have much education behind it at all. Why? Why do they need to know this, and why are they doing it?
Well, again, ultimately, it is done ostensibly in the name of consumer protection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what they end up doing is data mining all of this information. And at least on one side of this, using it for that initiative to go after these sorts of businesses and run them out of businesses. There's a group by the name of the U.S. Consumer Coalition. They've done yeoman's work in shining the light in some very dark places here. And they have hundreds of businesses who have horror stories about being harassed and intimidated, because what they do, the agents involved in this Operation Choke Point, is they go to these businesses' creditors, the lines of credit. In one case, I talked to an individual, a business owner from North Carolina, who said he had a 15-year working relationship with his contracted payroll firm, and suddenly they wouldn't do business with him anymore, and they wouldn't tell him why. And finally, through some research on his own, he figured out it was because of this Operation Choke Point. They were told if they continued to provide payroll services to this business, they'd face some consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And, this is some pretty scary stuff, and we're talking about legitimate businesses operated for a long time in good standing, have gone through all the regulatory hoops that these businesses have to go through. And now they're being intimidated and harassed by this group that is supposed to operate under the notion of consumer protection.
Okay, now let's say that we get proper guidance and we get somebody that's going to say enough is enough and we're going to shut it down. This data mining project with all this information, I dare believe, much the same as Lois Lerner's emails, it's not ever going to go away, correct?
It's problematic. I have said tongue-in-cheek lately that if they want to make sure that all that information is secure, they could transfer it over to Hillary Clinton's private email account.
Bingo.
But beyond that, no, we're talking about some real issues here, and we know what's happened in the last couple of weeks with more information coming out about Chinese hackers going in and getting information on just about every federal employee out there. I mean, this is some serious stuff. There was a point, I think, that was well made by a representative from this U.S. Consumer Coalition, the group that's really tracking this stuff. And he said that once Congress realizes, the members of Congress realize that they too could have their information. They could be among the 80%.
Right.
That could have their information out there and their information at risk of being exposed, their consumer information. And once we find out what they're spending their money on, and if there is that possibility, perhaps they will be faster to act and to reform.
And MD, I myself personally use a credit card at least a couple of occasions every single day. And the way I interpret this story is they know my buying habits, they know who I do business with, they know what I buy as a consumer. They would absolutely be able to put together a personality profile to eventually, if they so wish, control me and my family and our buying habits.
Well, I mean, they know a lot of information about you. It's as the individual put it. I think this was kind of stark to me. We focused on the NSA and the domestic spying program there with good reason. But he said this agency, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, could be even more overreaching, more invasive, because unlike the NSA, which knows the last time you may have called your wife, this group can know that your wife is pregnant before you do.
Oh, my.
That kind of puts it in perspective.
It really does. The insidiousness of this administration, and we have 583 days left of Obama, and I'm very concerned as to the rules and regulatory systems that will be imposed. I'm sure you agree that we ain't seen nothing yet in the time remaining. Would you agree with that?
No doubt about it, and I think this very well may be the year. This guy has been just about as Teflon as they used to call Ronald Reagan, a guy who can survive one political crisis after another. But there's eventually going to become a breaking point where Obama and his administration are going to have to answer for the litany of liberty issues.
Right.
And I think this may be the year where, there could be a breakthrough in that particular area.
Let me ask you a final thought here, MD. What would you tell my audience to be cognizant of or do to help fight this?
Well, this is what I would say. If you are a business owner and you have had some issues that we've talked about, lines of credit, those sorts of things. And you may, first of all, go to the U.S. Consumer Coalition, find out if you're on that list of businesses being effectively profiled by the Department of Justice and other agencies under the auspices of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Find out, and if you have been harassed or intimidated, call these folks because they can help you first and foremost. But more than anything, if you believe that this is an overreach, a government abuse, as we've seen on so many occasions in the last several years, call your congressman and say, this is it. We didn't want the NSA to be doing this, and we don't want somebody doing this in the name of consumer protection, an agency that has right now no congressional oversight.
Absolutely. M.D. Kittle, a good old boy and a veteran journalist, radio announcer, etc. And besides all that, he's a good guy because he's from Wisconsin. The very best to you, my friend, and please come back and be with us on this program in the future.
Anytime, my friend, and go Pack Go.
You got the 3 words that mean the most to me. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. M.D. Kittle, and we appreciate him being on the program this morning. And can you imagine? They know everything about us. They're listening to me right now with their tape recorders. And when I go to buy something, they know what I buy. They know why I buy it. And I am sick of it. This insidious government big brother knowing everything about us. They're watching and they're listening. It's time for the weather. And the weather is brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats. Oh, my goodness sakes. Wonderful, wonderful people at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, where they sell taste one bite at a time. Oh, my goodness. They got all those wonderful meat packages over there. And like that tax return meat package for only $300, beef, pork, chicken, and cheese. It is delicious. You got to get a hold of one today. Give them a call at 324-7657. Right now, here is Michael Rogers Weather with the next weather forecast for the rest of the day.
Morning, everybody. You got a nice day today with temperatures in the 80s, and it's going to continue that way for, throughout the midweek, and then there's a possibility of precipitation in the form of rain, but that's later on. Other than that, though, you got a nice way to start out the work week with temperatures in the low to mid-80s and the overnight low 50s got here, but there you go. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you've got.
Always having the most palatable of meats. The most palatable, delicious meats at Scarrows Meats. They use the Ross Tenderizer, and it's so good. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew serving you at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, they sell taste one bite at a time. It is good. Oh, my. What else have we got cooking here this morning? I got time for another phone call. Give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to remind you, this Thursday is Lunch Bunch Day. Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget that. And our thanks go out to Smith's Food King, Walmart, and Handsome Mortuary helping us with the door prizes. Everybody is going to get a little kind of a memento prize. As a matter of fact, you probably get more than one. Because of this being June Dairy Month, and our thanks go to the United Dairymen of Idaho. And we've got all kinds of goodies to give away. I don't think hardly anybody is going to walk out of Lunch Bunch coming up this Thursday without a prize. Man, we got boxes and boxes to take over there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So be at Denny's Restaurant, and that's in Burley on Overland, coming up this Thursday at 11:30, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Okay, while we have just a minute, I want to be sure and have you get ready for summer travel with your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, with the free pre-trip safety check. Yes, sirree, visual inspection of tire pressure check, wheel alignment inspection, inspection of the brakes and everything. Oh, my goodness. You just stop in for the free pre-trip safety check at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 7 locations. Now, along with this, they always have the best in tires, and they've got on sale right now the best passenger car tire made anywhere, the Ultra Z900. Long tread life, smooth, quiet ride. You check it out for your car at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Brake service, absolutely the best. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, all of this and more at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Lane in Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike in Buell, Mike in Jerome, Twist family in Paul, John on Pauline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Excuse me. A little hay fever hits me every time of the year at this time of the year. Tomorrow on the program, let's take a look and see who's going to be on the show. Well, we've got an open forum from 8:06 to 9, and that means all your calls, all your comments. And then we're going to have, let's see, Dr. Gerard Lamaro. And this guy I really enjoy having on the program because he talks about the issues with Islam and what's going on with ISIS and everything. He really, really is very straightforward. Then Vicki Cole is going to be on the air tomorrow morning talking about the Relay for Life that's coming up this weekend. And then, of course, our old compadre on Tuesdays, and that's Dr. History. Dr. Ken Turner will be here at 10:06. And then we're going to talk about the Insidious Tides Foundation, and that's going to be at 10:30. So that and many other subjects right there tomorrow morning from 8:06 to 11. A quick note, my good buddy Dave Zanino is going to have his next and fourth part of the Summer Series team roping at the Jerome County Fairgrounds, and that's going to be this Wednesday night starting at 6:30, rope at 7. They'll sign up at 6:30. It's a 3 for $25 draw pot, enter up to 6 times, and if you need more information on this roping, call my friend Dave Zanino at 431-1263. That'll do it for today. I'm going to go out on the back porch for a few minutes and just sit down and absorb some of the great sunshine. And you have a wonderful day. We'll start things tomorrow morning. We'll saddle the horse at 8:06 and ride for 3 hours to 11 right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m. And then streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.